Welcome back to the channel. I'm Peter Mokri, a Dallas-based DP, photographer, gaffer with a 1-ton grip van full of Aputure lighting. Today, we're doing an interview setup in a gym. This is our interview angle for the day. We wanted to shoot this direction to give us the most flexibility in the space, some good depth. We're gonna shoot into the corner instead of shooting flat against something like this. Always like to shoot into a corner for some depth. These machines will be moved out of the way. They were moved to make way for our carts, so they're out of shots. We do have mirrors and windows to contest with, so we wanted to make sure if you look here, you can't see the carts much at all. So that's why we favored the left side there. So that's kind of gonna be our safe zone where we could have gear and other equipment that's going to be behind us. We want to set up the interview in this area right here, looking this way. So we're going to squeeze as much as we can into this corner and utilize it. Now, what's going to be important is we have to decide which side to key from. If we keyed from this side, that means the light's coming from here. The problem we would have is when we have an angle going this way, we'd see this, and it's not as nice as this way with the depth that we have. So we're going to key from here, and then we're gonna have cameras shooting this direction into the shadow side. So that's why I picked this spot. So let's get set up. So with this interview setup, we had a lot of things to contend with. Obviously, you can't see what I look like right now. It's pretty dark. So let me turn the lights on. I'm gonna take the Sidus Link app right here, and I'm gonna fire it up. I have all my lights connected to it. So I'm gonna hit it on. And there's our setup for today. So there's a lot of key elements involved in this setup. And what's really cool about it is I can control all of them from this app right here. It's real simple, easy to do. So when I'm kind of soloing it, one-man banding it, it's a lot easier. So today's shoot actually had the awesome help of my wife. She helped me throughout the whole day with camera, lighting, grip, whatever it took to get it done. So I am very thankful for that. So when I was doing the interview today, I was looking or had the people looking this way, just off camera while I was doing the questioning. But right now, I'm gonna look at you guys. We have two angles, so I could show you both of those, and they came out looking real great. So our first light that we're gonna show off is we're gonna build this scene step by step. So I'm gonna turn off all these lights now and show you each light and what it's doing for the scene. The one light that we didn't have actually is that one way over here. So let me turn that one off. That one was not in play. So I'm going to turn that one off. There we go. That one was only used for B-roll. So let me correct that. Here's the scene now. So, let me go ahead and start with all of them off, and we'll turn them on one by one and kind of give you an idea of what was going on. So the first one I want to do is this background here just was too dark for us. So what I did is I used the new Spotlight Max to light it up and add a little bit of an effect. So we're going to do that first. So that one will turn on. And that creates that pattern. So you could see that pattern is hitting the doorway, but it's also hitting the other areas here. So here's it on, and here's it off. With it off, it's very dark, and it just becomes a black hole, kind of like I am right now. So we have that on. So that's the first step. Our next background light is our other tube light. And what's really cool about it is it adds a little bit of an effect over here in the dead spot. So that one turns on, has a nice look to it. You would expect neons or something to that effect in a gym, just something to catch your attention. But when you look at the other angle, which is our tighter shot, it adds a nice little bloom right about here. So that's really nice. Gives a good bloom, adds a little effect. So the next light that we're gonna turn on is my hair light. So we have a little bit of hair light coming in already. Above me, I actually have a solid, And that solid is blocking some of the spill, but I'm still getting some because I have receding hairline. So you'll see a little bit here. But we also did black wrap on the lights, which I'll show you guys. And you can actually see the black wrap that's covering some of the lights that we had no control over. So let's go ahead and turn on our hair light. Pulling up the app, and there's our hair light, giving me a nice glow, nice edge. It's hitting me right here now, which is nice, hitting the shoulder, and then also getting me right here. So you can see the outline of my hair, my ear, my neck looks really good. So then the final step to kind of bring this all together is our key light. We already have something in our background here that looks good, kind of breaking things up, but then we also have stuff that is kind of in the background over there, and then we have our hair light. So then we're gonna come in with our key light. Let's make sure I pick the correct one for our key light. And there we go. We have our key light. So what our key light is it's actually, I'd be turned more this way, looking this way here. I don't like as much, but when I'm looking over here where I should be, so I'm gonna look in the direction that I'd normally be doing for the interview, you can see it's giving me a nice Rembrandt. So it's giving me a good look here, getting a nice triangle, maybe a little more than a Rembrandt. If I'm here, I'm getting a true Rembrandt. But what's important is if you look in my eyes, it looks amazing. I'm catching that light. It has a grid on it so it doesn't spill everywhere, and it kind of finishes me out and looks good. Over to my left-hand side, I have a bounce, and it's just doing a little something. We wanted this to be slightly moody. Not too moody, but just enough where it looks good. So what would happen and what would it look like if we took away the hair light? And that's something important. You know, everything has its element, everything has its purpose. So we're gonna take that little hair light away and see what it looks like, and tell me what you guys think. Does it look as good? Yes, I'm still getting a little bit of edge from the natural light that's happening, but look at that. Look what it does to the shoulders. There, got a little bit on the shoulders already because there's a lot of spill coming in everywhere, but just that little bit of extra punch, and it looks good and it lights it up. And especially if someone has a little more hair than me, don't have much, it looks really good. So this is me looking like I'm getting interviewed and I'm talking, and that's how nice it looks. So that hair light plays in real well. Let's kill this light and see if we could have gotten away without that background element with our 600D and our Spotlight Max with the 36-degree lens, and it has a nice Cucaloris kind of look to it with the gobo that's in there. So let's turn that off. And it all of a sudden falls flat. It's a little bit darker. Yes, we're accenting the door. It's a door. It's nothing beautiful. I'll take a door over just darkness back here because it just doesn't look as good. Now we pop that back on and it has kind of a pattern and it just looks really nice. So that was amazing. And then let's take away the tube. So let's take away that tube that's over here and see how it looks. It kind of falls flat over there too. So just that little bit of pop, you could actually see it making a nice little streak of light on the ground. So it kind of comes into play there as well. Looks really good. So this all came together to look really nice. Now, if we cut everything out except the key light, you have one light, what would it look like? Well, let's do that. So we're gonna cut everything out. But before I do that, what would happen if I turn the lights off with everything on? See what that does. That looks real moody. So here's all the lights out. It's really dark. We've got that pattern happening back here. It's a really dark scene. That's something that could be done. I mean, this kind of has a cool look to it. I would probably not get everyone to wear black, but I mean, you know, this could be something really moody. This is a little too intense. It doesn't show off the space. We want to show off the space. So let's get that light back on. So those are some of your options. You could turn off the light, you could leave it on. I mean, you could go crazy with it. It's all up to you. You make the decisions. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna turn off all the other lights except for the key light. And I didn't group all these together. You can make these groups and I could have made it a lot quicker. But I didn't, sorry. So you know what? I'm gonna just turn them all off. They're all off, and then I'm just gonna turn my key on. That's the quick way to do it. If I could pick my key out. That's not it. Should have labeled these. You could label these. You could put what it is. Hey, this is the key light. So this is how it looks with just the key light. Is it passable, especially with the overheads coming in and still kind of creating a hair? That looks usable. So if that's all you have and you want to just put a bounce over here, you could make it work. So it's that simple. So now the key is in its position. I know exactly where it's at because I kind of have a marking point. Let's see what happens if I pan it over. So I'm just gonna pan it over and I'm gonna pan it over towards camera and let's see what it does. Did it change? Does it look different? That's panning it slightly over different direction. And I think it does make a big change. And what it's doing is it's hitting the bounce a lot more and creating a lot more fill here. So if I didn't want it to be as moody, now I have a lot more fill. And all I did was pan it over. That's it. I just moved it. So just panning the light slightly, I'm still hitting my face completely, but now it's hitting the bounce. So that little change made a big difference compared to what it was. Now this goes back to having a little more moodiness to it. So just that slight difference, panning the light a foot over can make that much of a difference. So when it comes to lighting, it is a game of inches sometimes, and it's not even a joke. Just a little bit of movement can make a huge difference in your image and change the way it looks. Now, here's something crazy that happened. While I was filming, someone had a darker complexion. So I didn't think to pan it over in a quick enough situation because I didn't think I could get the return on it. But guess what I did? I came in and I added a tube light over here, and that tube light filled it in enough to bring up their skin tones in that darker area because I had a darker complexion. Let's see what that looks like on me. You notice it almost looks similar to when we did the panning of the light. And what it is it's just a tube light with the world famous pool noodle added to it. So look at that. That actually brought up a lot of light over here, and it's still soft. It's not too sourcey. You know, it can be considered a little sourcey, not as soft as going through a softbox, bouncing and coming over here, but it does the job in a pinch. It's what I thought of in the scenario, and guess what? Now I learned I had enough movement to pan a little more, and I could have got it out of it. So next time, that's what I'm doing instead of running for a tube. But this is what I thought of first. I was like, bring something in. I went a little more complex and I could have went a lot more simple. So now I'm gonna show you some of the screen grabs from the interviews we did today. I'm going to cut to some BTS of all these lights on so you can see them in action and see where they're placed in relativity to where I'm sitting so you can see how everything looks from a behind the scenes perspective. Here is a perspective from behind the camera. You would be sitting right here looking at the person getting interviewed. We're going to turn around and go over what we have going on. So that is a 600X right there with a 150 dome with a grid on it. It has the softer diffusion. We have a boom coming out with an Amaran T2C. And then we have a tube here for a little bit of fill on people with darker complexion, and then an ultra bounce here. We have a floppy to help kill some of the overhead and help with sound. And then we're running two FX6s for camera. One is 35 mil, one is 85. If we look at the background here, you see a pattern happening. And this is from the Spotlight Max. You can see my shadow in it. And it is running this is the Spotlight Max with a 600D shooting into the background over there. And if you see, we cut it, see it hitting the ceiling? And then we cut it to just be below the ceiling line. And then also down below, we cut it so it doesn't hit the floor. So it worked perfectly, just out of focus to give us a pattern on the wall here. And then we have a 4-foot tube tucked away here to give us a little bit of something in the background. And that's how it looked. Wow. It's pretty crazy how we turned this small space into something that looked big and inviting and just got it looking great. What did you think of my setup? What would you have done differently? Would you have done different angles? Would you have gone tighter, wider, a different perspective? Would you have done a book light? Would you have done this or that? Now remember, it was just myself and my wife setting up for 2 hours. That's all we had. Thank you so much for watching the channel. Thank you so much for all the support, the comments from everyone that participates. You really drive me to keep doing these vlogs, to keep putting out videos, whether it's gear related, whether it's lighting related, or just talking about the business side of being a freelancer, being a small production company, being in the business. It's amazing that we can all talk about our experiences, our ideas, and share them together to get us in a better place, to get everyone in a better place so we could all be successful and all keep on doing what we love. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next one.